I'll introduce Ms. Elaine Wacuka Hurt. Elaine is an international development professional with 7 years experience in implementing programs and developing curricular training surrounding social entrepreneurship, capacity building, community-based development, volunteerism, and agriculture. She's implemented diversity training recommendations for the United States Peace Corps. She served as a U.S. Peace Corps volunteer in Madagascar. She built private-public partnerships with international NGOs, created health education programs for victims of sexual-based tourism, worked with community-based organizations for at-risk youth in Kenya, and contributed to the UN Peacebuilding Directory for East and Central Europe and the CIS, and supported women and minorities in elected office. We're fortunate to have her now working as the Alllights Village Program Coordinator in East and West Africa. She's going to be joined in her presentation by Mr. Donald Bodzo. He began his career in international development sector as a young entrepreneur in Zimbabwe. While he was a university student, he founded a social enterprise that received international recognition and awards from organizations such as the International Youth Foundation, Youth Action Net, Nokia, Starbucks Foundation, and the Sylvain Laureate Foundation. Donald worked with Service for Peace and the Grameen Foundation in Washington, D.C. as an Atlas Corps Fellow. He's also the founder and executive director of an organization called Panhari in Zimbabwe, which focuses on empowering youth through providing economic and learning opportunities. He has more than 6 years' experience in managing programs and projects that especially focus on youth development and entrepreneurship. He also has skills in program monitoring and evaluation, community development, and grants writing. He holds an undergraduate degree in applied environmental science and a master's degree in sustainable development, policy and management. We're also fortunate to have him working in the Alllights Village program as a program coordinator for the international office based in the USA. So without further ado, welcome them up to give the final presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. This afternoon, Elaine and myself are going to present on community mapping guidelines. It's such a bad time of the day to do a presentation when we've all had a very long day. So I promise that it will be very brief and hopefully, cover some of the key important aspects in our presentation. With that, I would like to ask Elaine to just go right ahead.
As Donald said, thank you for having us and allow us a bit more time to just share on some of the topics that were mentioned. I don't know how to make this work very well, but we will start with the, Okay, so you've heard a lot about the Alllights Village. A bit about myself, as you've heard, I was a volunteer first. I studied development. I wanted to get an idea of what development in large looks like on the ground, especially when it's supposed to inform a lot of policy. So I studied in the US and I'm from Kenya, so I went back to Kenya to see how to do development, and especially sustainable development, which is a word that's thrown around a lot. It's a term that's used a lot, but nobody really explains what makes development sustainable. Working with Service for Peace first and also with Global Peace Foundation, I was lucky enough to be allowed by the community to do mapping. And the good thing with mapping is that you really get to understand how to make the project work. As Doctor, you mentioned, when you step foot into a community, you really hope that there's going to be some kind of ownership. You really hope that you can leave them with this project, that they see it as their own project and not just something you've come and dumped on them, decided maybe they need goats or they need chickens or they need greenhouses, but that they themselves decide that they want it. So a lot of the times in our projects in Kenya, and Donald will talk about in Zimbabwe, we begin the entire Alllights project with a mapping activity. We go in with a team, mostly Kenyan. We ask the community, we explain to the community first about Alllights, the vision of Global Peace Foundation, the concept of one family under God. And then we sit down with a lot of stakeholders, because you usually need somebody in government as well as somebody in local government to help the process along. We sit down with all parties, youth, the elderly, and we just kind of see where everybody's at, what they need, and then we let them inform us on what we can do with the Alllights project that will also work for them. So I wanted to just kind of share a bit about that instead of going through the entire PowerPoint presentation. We'll have another session tomorrow at 11 for more questions. I know some of you have questions that you wanted answered as well. And then Donald can share about his process in Zimbabwe.
Okay, thanks, Elaine. Well, in Zimbabwe, we don't have the Alllights Village program. Instead, I'll just briefly share about a program that I started about 4 years ago when I was a student at the University of Zimbabwe. You know, it was around 2008, and my father is a farmer, and at that time, if some of you probably know, Zimbabwe was going through an economic crisis, and for farmers, including my father, it was a very difficult and tough experience to, purchase inputs such as fertilizer. So I started with two other colleagues who were my classmates, a program where we were just going around villages and collecting cow dung and cattle manure, and then went back with that to the university, did some lab tests with the support of our professors, and developed an organic fertilizer, which also I think, David, you mentioned. And we started distributing that for free initially in some of the local communities in Zimbabwe. And that project actually grew and developed over a year, and we got recognition from the university and from the government. And from then on, I started working with more students and developing other projects, social entrepreneurship projects, in cross-cutting sectors from health to agriculture and so forth. And just last year, we then started getting international recognition from organizations such as the MasterCard Foundation, International Youth Foundation, and our program has grown. But our process coming back to this is just pretty much the same. How do you encourage participants or local people to work with you on a project? So what we basically do is when we go into communities, like what Elaine mentioned and what some of the other presenters mentioned as well, the first thing is to engage them and allow them to be the drivers of their own local development, and perhaps utilize their own local resources, and asking them to make the decisions locally. And then work with them step by step from the process of community mapping to developing the program to even bringing other external partners in the process. So I think I'll just end there because of our time, and just ask Elaine also to just give the last word before we finish.
Thank you, Donald. And if the panelists will allow, maybe we can take one or two questions that you might have about the Alllights project or how it might work in your communities, or any questions in general about development at large. If there are any, I'm sure there are.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's very, very interesting to see the Alllights Village, especially from Mr. David. Dr. David in the beginning, there are like all the programs there, and it's very surprising to see that it's just 1+ year old. I think it's very impressive. Then I found out that the funding came from CSR, which is 1% from the profit. Is very, very nice. But the question is, I'm also running a social business in Indonesia in form of education and microfinance combined. And what I learned being an NGO, especially without that many networks, it's difficult to scale up fast. And looking at the impact that you created, it would be wonderful to be able to scale up fast. Is going forward, it's still going to be like donation based, or do you have plan to make it like more social business? Because if you can cover all the costs yourself, especially if you can make an attractive return, you can do much faster. that probably you have done it, but I just haven't catch it. Good. Thank you so much.
Excellent question. Now there are three sources of financing. First one is individual donor. We have CMS member. They donate certain amount of money at regular basis. For example, at least $10 per month. And we have around 3,000 members for this project in Korea. That is one source. The second one is, as I mentioned, corporations, donors. Before, Korean companies, they visit several countries to build a house or to build a school or to build a hospital, but they realize that it doesn't make any change. So they are more interested in community building, and Alllights Village is, they believe this is the best program for them. So they start to join. So that become much larger and larger. And last part is our headquarters. Our GPF Foundation headquarters support us. But as you mentioned, in order to scale up, I mean, we don't want to just make a self-sufficient, several self-sufficient village in Philippines. We want to expand this model into many countries as possible. But in order to so, we really need finance, right? Then one of way for us to do is to, as you mentioned, we have our own companies to support this. You may call social enterprise. And before, for example, providing solar lantern, we purchased from companies in Korea. And there were two reasons why we decided we produce this product by ourselves. First one is quality issue. We never satisfy their quality. The second point is, as you mentioned, in order to scale up this project, we will need, the sustainable financial source. So we decide to, manufacture this product, and now our product is actually produced by GPF Korea. But so far, we really focus on making a good model in Nueva Ecija. So rather than expand this model into other nations, we really focusing on making good example in Philippines. So that means still our needs for lantern is very small. So so far we couldn't make any profit from this company. But if once we make a good example here, then we want to expand this model into other nations. Now, many countries in South America, also in Asia, Southeast Asia and Africa, they want this project to implement their nation. So probably next year, we can start to expand this model, right? In that case, we can make a certain profit from this company. Then that profit go into this project.
Thank you.
So I'd like to show appreciation to you for your patience as we started late and went a little bit over, and for your commitment to the program, being here all the way till the end. So give yourselves a hand as well. Thank you.